Happy New Year, everybody. May it be many more on Genderqueer Chat. And La and I, this is my poodle, and I are very excited to be making one of the first videos of the new year on this channel. He's helping me out. I hope you don't mind. He was being very distracting in previous takes of this video, so I'm watching you. Be polite. This week, we're actually talking about the past as we ring in the new year. The question this week, the topic this week is, it asks us to think about ourselves in a different time of life when we thought about gender in the world in a different way. What were our thoughts on gender, misconceptions? What would our past selves think of the current us? And what would I think about my past self, knowing what I know now about gender and the binary world we live in? And I was thinking this is going to be really interesting for me to see that some of the older members on the channel and older contributors giving feedback about this, because as I was coming to terms with my own gender, I was going through my adolescence. So before I was thinking consciously about gender, I was a child and a young teenager. So it's, I don't know, it's strange for me to look back on that and think, oh, what was my how ignorant my past self was, because I was also, I was growing up and I had a lot of things that I was very ignorant about. So I can't really blame my past self for being ignorant or not aware of gender. That's how I look at it, I guess. I think some of my earliest memories of gender-related memories are me performing gender or playing with gender. I was one of those kids who would be playing like dogs or something on the playground, and I would always be male other than female, basically. And I would insist, I would create my character, and I would insist that I be treated accordingly. I would be referred to by male pronouns and by male name. One character that I used to annoy my brother with a lot when we were playing as kids was a rescue dog, a German Shepherd named Jack. Ironic. I didn't choose the name for that reason, but I thought it was fitting. So yeah, I was Jack the German Shepherd when I was like 8 or 9, and I remember having a really vicious argument with my mother at age 5 or 6, where I insisted that I was Simba from The Lion King, and I demanded that I be treated as Simba because Pride Rock was going to be mine someday, so my family might as well get used to referring to me by male pronouns and calling me Simba. Still working on that, but it was destined to be. Clearly. So, in terms of thoughts on gender, obviously I had no idea that one could be anything but male or female. I never really questioned that until I actually came across people who were genderqueer. Even when I saw androgynous looking people or was confused about people's gender, I don't think I really was bothered by that. I remember seeing androgynous looking people or people who I couldn't readily identify as male or female, and unlike a lot of kids that I encounter now, I never asked my parents about that or spoke up about it. I just thought, oh, it's whatever. I genuinely don't know what my child self, my 14 or 15-year-old self would have thought of me today. I I think I would have. I think I would maybe be impressed with myself today, because I know that I was uneasy about gender and really didn't like the idea of myself. I remember when I was younger thinking of my 16th birthday as this time when I, for some reason in my mind, that had to be the time where I became like a girl, or and I had to be like, I had to have a sweet 16 birthday party and things like that. And so I remember like being like 7 and thinking of that as, that's when it's got to happen. I've got to stop being a tomboy, and I've got to, stop being myself, basically. And I dreaded it in a way. And then I remember reaching 16 and thinking, well, aren't we glad I didn't end up like that? So I think my child self wouldn't quite know what to make of me today, but I'd like to think would be pleased, though a little bit baffled, maybe a little sad that I wasn't Simba. What can you do? But I am rather proud of the fact that I don't think I ever was terribly fussed about gender, and never really played into or thought, that people should have to conform to gender roles. I always thought it was really stupid getting McDonald's Happy Meals that had gendered toys. So, so I think I was quite an open-minded child without really knowing that. So, yeah. What would I think about my past self, knowing what I know now about the gender binary? I think a lot of trans people do this, maybe, but I often look at my past self and my childhood to kind of justify my gender now. I think, oh, well, the fact that I was never comfortable being a female in games as a kid, or always identified with male characters, or non-female characters, means that I've always been this way, and I've always been genderqueer or trans. And maybe that's true, but ultimately I think that I look at my past self as being sort of a logical progression to what I am today. And I guess I'm proud of the fact that I sort of naturally evolved to what I am today without really ever getting hung up on gender conventions, even as a child. And I'm glad that I think that way naturally, or thought that way naturally. Yeah. So, what's your experience? Do tell. And hoping that people watching this and stuff will participate in New Year. And feel free to say hello. La, say goodnight. You can say goodnight now. He's gone to sleep already. And we're going to let you go. So have a happy New Year, everybody, and see you next week.